Well, it's Vlogmas Day 13 and today we are doing Christmas cards, slow cooked roast beef and perfect every time Yorkshire puddings, and I say perfect every time if you follow this recipe. First of all, I'm going to stamp my Christmas cards. Now, I was talking to my daughter and she agreed people just aren't sending Christmas cards like they used to. I remember running out of space to put my Christmas cards over the years, but now I've had 2 Christmas cards this year, and to be honest, I can't see getting any more. It doesn't stop me. I enjoy sending Christmas cards, and I think especially if you have family or people who live far away, I think it's a nice touch at Christmas. So this is what I'm doing. I'm doing it for a couple of friends and then the cards that I'm sending overseas. So I have a little kit that I bought off Amazon a few years ago, and it is a stamp and wax. And what comes inside is this little spoon which you pop your wax into and you heat it up over the candle. Once it's melted, you put it on the join of your envelope and you press down. Now, with this particular stamp, it was the first one I'd done and there was a tiny little bit of wax still on the stamp from last time. That's why I was melting it off. But you will find as it goes on that the stamps get better and better. And there we go. Of course, mine is my last initial, and that's how I'm stamping all of my Christmas cards this year. Every card will take at least one of the little wax stars, and this one went a lot easier than the first one. As I said, you'll get into the routine of doing it, and they'll turn out reasonably well every time you do it. You will find I find my fingers are black from the burning underneath the spoon, but I think they look so nice once they're sent, and they do stay on. When I've had friends and family call me and they've been through the mail, and the wax seals stay on. That's the little set that I bought, and it is such a nice little set, and it's lasted me, like I said, it's lasted me for about 5 years. All I've done is bought the one packet of little gold stars. I think I've used the same packet all along. If you have a slow cooker, I highly recommend this is the best way to cook a roast beef. So this slow cooked roast beef is a recipe that I use quite often. I vary the size of the meat. It's just the 2 of us, so it's just a small piece of meat. I wash it off, put it in the slow cooker, and then I season it with a good amount of pepper, and then I use the Himalayan sea salt. I find it has more taste. Then I add 1 small chopped onion, and I add about 2 cloves of garlic. Again, this can vary on the amount of meat that you're using, but this is a good start. As you can see, the joint of meat is not a massive piece of meat. So once the meat has been seasoned and the onions in, I take this is actually a cup of port that I use, but you can use a really good red wine. And a good rule of thumb with wine is if you wouldn't drink it, don't cook with it. You want the rich flavours of the wine or the port to go with the meat. So if it's something that you wouldn't drink, then don't put it in. So we have 1 cup of port or good red wine, and then I have 4 cups. This was 3 cups of beef stock, and then that's it. So what I've done is I've put the fat side down, and then I put it on for 4 hours. So you put the lid on and you leave it for 2 hours, and then after 2 hours you're going to give it a quick turn over and make sure it's cooking well. So after about 2 hours, I come down and check the meat. So it's all bubbling away nicely. So I always flip it over. So you'll see how the meat's taken on the colour of the port. So you want that to be even. So I just flip it over and cover it back up again. So about half an hour before the meat is finished cooking, that's when you start thinking about your Yorkshire puddings. And if you follow this recipe, you will have perfect Yorkshire puddings. So the trick is you take a container, whether it's a mug, a cup, whatever, and you put exactly the same amount of eggs, flour and milk. And you will always, it will always work out. So I had this little glass and it took 3 eggs. Same, I cleaned it out and it was the same of milk and then the same of flour. Put them in the bowl and mix them. In the meantime, get your muffin tins and you put a little bit of oil in the bottom. A little bit more rather than a little less, because you want to get that nice and hot so that when you pour in the batter, you have a reaction from the cold batter to the hot oil, and that's what gives you your hollow Yorkshire puddings. So I've got the oven preheated to 350 and the muffin tins are going to go in the oven for about 10 minutes. And what that does, it heats the oil up. So back to the Yorkshire pudding batter. So you mix together your eggs, your milk and your flour. Again, you add a pinch of salt and about a tablespoon of melted butter. Once this is all mixed together, we're going to put this container into the freezer for about 10 minutes. So after 10 minutes, you take your batter out of the freezer and you take your muffin tins out of the oven. And what you're going to do is you're going to pour the cold batter into the hot muffin tins, and be careful because sometimes it does splash back. And then they're going straight back in the oven, 350 degrees for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, this is the result. Fluffy, hollow, light, really tasty Yorkshire puddings every single time. The only time I've ever had this go wrong was when I didn't have self-raising flour and I used plain flour. So there's another thing I meant to say, always use self-raising flour. So we have roast beef underneath the Yorkshire puddings, and then my camera steamed up because it was so hot. I have peas and leeks and then mashed potatoes with gravy, and honestly it was delicious. I really hope you try these out and let me know how you get on, because they should work, like I said, every time.